part of our deen. Spending time with the family is part of the deen. Working, part of the deen. Studying, part of the deen. Vacationing, part of the deen. So there is no aspect of our life that isn't a part of our deen. What we're trying to do is in everything that we consider to be dunya, we bring it within the framework of deen. And whatever we consider to be deen, we bring in the framework of dunya. And I'll say this very clearly. Why? Because we think that deen is so exclusive that there's no worldly attachment within the compound of deen, where deen is actually all encompassing. It embraces everything. Uh, I think I gave a khutbah on this many months ago that, this had initiated from our own tongues, where we would say, well, Imam, make dua that my child is good in deen and dunya. But like, who made that differentiation? It's not there. So tarbiyah is kind of bringing forth framework. Number two is creating a framework, and number two is bringing forth meaning and purpose to everything we do. Whatever that children have to do, as long as it has a framework. So we had started Surah Ma'idah, and Surah Ma'idah really lays down framework of, what is permissible and not. So what we tend to ask is this job halal or not? We're not supposed to just look at the job. We're supposed to look at a framework of how I work, how I conduct myself. I could take that into a corporate setting, a private setting, personal, or otherwise. So yeah, that's
So basically, just make them God conscious in everything they do.
100%. I say to people that, what, it's not how many courses you enroll them in and how many books they cover. The day that my children leave my house, if they are God conscious, they know Allah's watching me. That's all I care. Because that's the catalyst of their good character, good conduct, how they speak, not to lie. It's work in progress. So we're supposed to set that foundation framework. And that's really what we need to focus upon. So alhamdulillah. But inshallah, make dua. We've been having a lot of meetings on that class, inshallah. There's a lot that we need to cover, inshallah. We're creating a much larger framework for that, inshallah. So make dua. Alhamdulillah. Sure.
My grandmother died 2 days ago. Then my mother go to his
Yes, she can go to the grave, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give her Jannah Firdaus. Sister, alhamdulillah, this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so merciful that He made us family on this earth so we could be family forever in Akhirah. Allah made her your grandmother, so you got to see her, that connection was here. As they move on, we are to work harder to meet them tomorrow, inshallah. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive her sins, may Allah grant her Jannah Firdaus Na'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you all patience during this time, inshallah. Back in the days, the graveyard and women not going to the grave, there's many angles of approach when it comes to culture and religion. But if she feels she wants to go and make a prayer, then inshallah, no problem. Alhamdulillah. So, alhamdulillah. Any other questions, anyone? Inshallah, any questions, thoughts, concerns? Anybody, inshallah?
I have a question about both of these, like the sister asked about the Fatiha and the kids will go. My one is just 4 years old right now.
Alhamdulillah.
I was like, we are trying to sort of not enforcing him, like praying because he's little, but we try to pray in front of him so that he sees. But whenever I tell him, come join us, he's like, I'm so tired and I want to play. I was like, bring the toys, I was like, it shouldn't be something a core for him. Like my mom was always asking me, come pray, but I'm just trying to be here and pray in front of him. But what I know him, like we say, we tell them when they are 7 years old, and we strict when they are 10 if they are not praying. So is 4 like too young, like too early an age to start? Like, how to even start telling them, pray? And even though I have introduced like lots of books and stuff like he's learning to read, but then
Again, there's a lot of that, the method behind how we do what we do. It's not what we present, it's what we create. It's a space that we create. So I was reading the other day, and I'm trying to find the authenticity of this statement. Ali radiallahu anhu said that first 7 years you play with them, next 7 years you teach them, the next 7 years you advise them, and it goes on. So it's amazing because uh, it's a phase for him right now as we are playing, but to understand the framework of who we are, and then of course the teaching settles in after that. So long you're praying, creating that environment, and ultimately they'll just come up and just watch or sit down. Um, but to then, I think just not to take away the toys and stuff because they'll think, oh no, this is my time. But when you see the continuity that you're doing this, he'll ultimately come in and figure out what's going on. So alhamdulillah, inshallah.
And also, like sister mentioned, like going to the graveyard.
Mhm.
I lost my mother like 12 years ago. So that time we had a culture like women don't go to the graveyard like in back home. But this year I went after like 5-6 years. My husband was like, "You should go.
Mhm.
Just you're not like lamenting or something.
Mm.
Just going in, reading some Fatiha, and if you are like like you are following the instructions." I don't know, there is a conception growing up, I have learned like women are not supposed to go to graveyard because the ones that are buried there can see them. Like sort of, I don't know what conception is like without pools or something. That's what we were taught, that we're not supposed to go there. But this time when I went, I was like, I felt so much solace that I know where my mom is. Like, so is it okay to go? Like we are not going on a regular basis, just.
You see, the thing is that let's look in the framework of what the Prophet ﷺ did. كنت نهيتكم عن زيارة القبور فزورها. I used to forbid you from going to the graves, now go there, to graveyards. There was a time in Islam when no one could go. And then he explained the importance, and he set forth the guidelines and the framework for it, and he said fazuruha. And of course it's to tone more towards the male. But that, outright you can't go at all isn't in our deen. Um, there's that story where Aisha radiallahu anha, she woke up in the middle of the night and the Prophet ﷺ wasn't there. She's like, where did he go? And so she went looking for him everywhere, and then she ended up in the graveyard, and there he was praying for the people who passed on. And so she entered. It wasn't like she couldn't go in. We cannot say that going to a graveyard is haram. You can go there. The question is, we have to, again, put it in the framework of purpose. My purpose is to what? Like, you've traveled far, you want to go see your mother's grave? Alhamdulillah, make dua for her. But yeah, the people in the grave may be able to hear you, they'll get the message from you, or the angels will let them know. More than that, we shouldn't put more, because our cultures tend to really add a lot of things where they're not non-existent. So, alhamdulillah. Hopefully, good intentions, not too good execution, but inshallah we'll be able to fix that soon. Inshallah, alhamdulillah. So the sisters, alhamdulillah, we're gonna end the class at 12 today, inshallah. I told Sheikh Hassan to be here early. I have a flight to catch, inshallah. I won't be here next week, so inshallah. Sister Joria could hopefully email. I don't know if she emailed. I haven't checked my email since yesterday, but email everyone, let them know that this class will not be happening next week, but we'll continue inshallah the week after. So without further ado, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillahi wa kafa, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa mawala. أما بعد رب يسر ولا تعسر وتمم بالخير وبك نستعين يا فتاح رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي رب زدني علما والحقني بالصالحين سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم سبحانك لا فهم لنا إلا ما فهمتنا إنك أنت الجواد الكريم. So, sisters, alhamdulillah, we had concluded our discussion last week on the topic of free mixing. And I don't think this is a topic that we need to indulge so much more in, because we are starting to see, and we are seeing, the downfalls of it in our society. Many things people do in a harmless fashion. What's wrong just sitting and talking and stuff, and they don't have ill intentions. They just do it. But then ultimately, it can potentially become bad. Shaitan knows where he can hook us. A person doesn't go fishing in a swimming pool. They go fishing in a lake, a river, a pond, in the ocean, whatever, because that's where the fish are. So shaitan looks for the areas where he can catch fish, and when we do these type of settings, we're becoming fish in those vulnerable areas. And so, alhamdulillah, we discussed it, and the author had his take on many things. And alhamdulillah, in respect of the author and how he compiled this book, yes, free mixing means mixing without any purpose or cause. And I think we talked about it a few weeks back, or maybe a few months ago, about the free mixing that happens within our own families. This is the most detrimental. I am not scared of you or myself talking to maybe the man or woman at Kroger's, but I'm more scared of us speaking within the confinements of our houses or uncles' houses or cousins' houses. These things are more dangerous. It is very much more dangerous. And again, that's where your guard is down. It's like, oh, he's my brother-in-law or that's my sister-in-law. No. If they are someone that you can marry and they're not mahram means mother, father, brother, sister, son, and daughter. These are things that you have to be very cognizant about. And people say, oh, you're just making the religion problematic or rigid. No. One is that is a dawat and everyone is talking and stuff like that, and you have boundaries. Just make sure you uphold those boundaries. But this dropping by, coming by, going here, this is not acceptable. Even in Surah Nur, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala set standards of when we should go to people's houses and when we should knock the door and when we should not enter, because everything has a time, and to become lax in this matter can be very detrimental. So keep that in mind. Freely mixing means mixing without a purpose, and also mixing in seclusion. Now, the next part the author talks about is that she does not shake hands with a non-mahram man. It is natural that a Muslim woman who does not mix with men would not wish to shake hands with anyone who is not her mahram. In accordance to the teachings and example of the Prophet Muhammad in Bukhari, Aisha radiallahu anha said, when the believing woman made hijrah, migration, to the Prophet Muhammad he would examine and test them. And according to the ayah, in chapter number 60, in verse 10, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, O you who believe, إِذَا جَاءَكَ الْمُؤْمِنَاتِ مُهَاجِرَاتِ if the women come to you, believing women, and they are seeking refuge, فَامْتَحِنُوهُنَّ take their exam. Allahu a'lamu bi imanihinna, Allah knows about their faith. So in this story, Allah is telling the Prophet ﷺ to bring them forward and test them. Whoever accepted the conditions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala set forth, they would do bay'ah. Bay'ah means making allegiance with the Prophet ﷺ. It is such an important practice that no one does anymore. Matter of fact, that if I come in as an imam, I should say, let's make bay'ah together, that we're going to do this for Allah. We're not going to, it's called setting the standard, setting the tone. And subhanAllah, the Sahabas would make bay'ah with Rasulullah sallallahu that we will follow you fil manshati wal makra wa ala atharatin alayna, will follow you in good times and in difficult times, even if the circumstances are against us. We're going to follow you, O Rasulullah sallallahu. It is that type of allegiance and commitment that allows us to work in a more constructive fashion. So he then would say, you may go now, for I have accepted your bay'ah. By Allah, the Prophet ﷺ's hand never touched the hand of a woman. He accepted their bay'ah by words only. So when it was a man, they would touch hands and make bay'ah. But it was a sister, he never touched their hands. It was just the words. By Allah, he never put any conditions on women other than those that Allah commanded him. And when he had confirmed the bay'ah, he would say, I have accepted your bay'ah by your words. Now let's talk. We have the framework here. Now let's talk about deen. Let's talk about reality of our world. This is a guideline set for our Muslim sisters. So we shouldn't see our Muslim sisters freely shaking hands with our Muslim brothers. We both know that in the framework of our religion, this is something that isn't advised. When it comes to women outside of Islam, so as Imam, for so many years, initially I used to go to churches and programs, and I would not shake my hand with them. I'd not shake the hand. And they would be sticking their hand out. I'm like, nope, I'm not going to shake your hand. Why? Because it's disrespectful, you have an honor, and Islam says, and their face would turn red. So I started thinking that I'm saying I'm honoring you, and here I humiliated you, right? And this is a command for our Muslim sisters, not for the non-Muslim sisters. The culture in our society is when you talk to a lady, you look at her eye, you talk to her because that's called respectful. If you're looking like this and talking to her or looking down, she will assume in American society, what, am I ugly, or you don't want to look at me? It's the culture of the people who are not Muslims. And so with purpose, you talk respectfully, you talk and you finish. So what I would do then is try to get on the stage, talk, and also give a disclaimer. I won't shake anyone's hand. But then the older woman would come say, "Can we give you a hug because you're like our son?" And so I came to a point. You know what? If they put their hand out, I will shake it. I will not be disrespectful to them, because my Islam said to honor them and shake in honoring them. So if to them honor is to shake, I would shake, and I do shake. But I want to go to a Muslim sister. Oh, assalamu alaikum, Muslim sister. How are you? You don't do that stuff, right? Because we have our framework. It's our deen. And mashallah, when they learn that this is a practice that you don't do as a sister, then they will ultimately say, "You are a Muslim man. I will not shake your hand," because I learned from a Muslim friend of mine who said to me that she doesn't shake hands, and then they get it. So now it's not disrespectful, but don't leave anyone hanging, is what I say, and that's basically because the position that we're in, that we go and meet people. If not, then try to prevent yourself from doing it at all costs. Don't walk into Kroger and say, "Hello, Melissa. Hello." No, don't do that. Just, the hi is good enough from far. You don't have to go shake people's hands. The next part is very important. He talks about traveling without a mahram. One of the rulings of Islam concerning women is that women should not travel without a mahram, because travel is full of dangers and hardships, and it is not right for a woman to face all this alone, without a mahram to protect her and take care of her. Let me pause here. What chapter are we on, everyone? What are we talking about here? We're talking about the tree, right? We're still on, which part are we on? And that's Muslim, a lady and Allah, right? So all that we're talking about relates back to our relationship with Allah. This is all the framework, the Muslim woman and her Lord. It's good we all are on the same page. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ forbade women to travel alone without a mahram. This is recorded in numerous ahadith, but it will suffice to quote just two of them here. In one, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, a woman should not travel for 3 days except with a mahram. And number two, he said, it is not permitted for a woman who believes in Allah and the last day to travel the walking distance of 3 days without a mahram. All the hadith on this topic state that the presence of a mahram is a condition for women's travel, except in cases of utter necessity, as defined by the scholars, whose points of view differ somewhat. In this way, the Muslim woman is truly obedient to Allah, following His commandments, heeding His prohibitions, and accepting His rulings. She adheres to the teachings of Islam and bears with patience any difficulties that may be involved in obeying Allah, even if this goes against many of the prevalent social ideas. She is filled with hope, and she will ultimately be successful and victorious, as the Quran states in chapter number 103, verse 1 to 3, by the token of time, verily man is in loss, except such as have faith and do righteous deeds, and join together in mutual teaching of truth and of patience and consistency. And we'll stop here. What is this talking about? If we take it literally, okay, let's take this literally. A woman should not travel alone the walking distance of 3 days. Just say a person walks 40 miles in a day, just say. That's 120 miles. If you were to drive from here to halfway to Austin, I think, you already violated this clause. The other one is a woman should not travel for 3 days except without a mahram. Why? Because that's a lengthy period of time and there's a lot of unassurity. Let's bring this into perspective. Aisha radiallahu anha, she traveled back from Makkah without mahram. Right? Now, I'm not going to use this to justify. I'm trying to use this to test the framework. A woman shouldn't travel alone, which is considered travel in our time. Travels like transatlantic, Pacific, this is called travel now. Travel within America now has become a breeze. You could fly anywhere from Dallas, 3 hours, 3 to 4 hours max. You're anywhere in America. You're centrally located. I think Seattle direct flight is 3.5, 4 hours. Florida 2 hours, 2.5 hours, New York 3 hours. So you're really in a position where this movement can happen. In that, you're traveling with masses. There is security protocols. There is no threat to one's life or danger to one's belongings, as it was back in the days. So this can be questioned: is this defined as the travel? Because you're not traveling 3 days. Yes, you're traveling maybe 1,000 miles, but in 2 hours. So if there is a need being family emergency, need being work, need being health, something of this regard, where no mahram can go with you. You can't take your husband if you're working every day to Chicago, for example. He has to work, you have to work, it's what it is. So at that time, the husband's responsible to set forth guidelines that will ensure her protection. He will not say, go to the airport, find your own ticket, and figure out yourself. Or when you land in Chicago, look for an Airbnb or something. No, you're responsible to make sure that these things are covered. Under certain guidelines, the Saudis have said now that a woman could travel for Hajj alone at the age of 45 plus. And they say that the group will become her mahram because it is a group of people going together. It eliminates the possibilities of harm, and the possibilities of harm are minimized to just percentages. So understanding that my Allah cares for me, not my Allah is confining me. Just keep these words. Allah cares for me. He's not confining me to a cage or to the four walls of my house I cannot go. Sometimes we have to travel 20, 30, 50 miles because of travel, kids, this, that, and the other. It's considered a necessity, and thus we do it accordingly. Yes.
So what you're saying makes sense, and the same with the shaking hands. But how do you know when to kind of apply this sort of logic to a ruling versus when to just say, okay, this is what it is and you have to do it?
Needs in Islam dictate the rulings. Our Islam is a religion that is based on circumstances. And we have numerous ahadith to prove that. A sahabi whose nose was cut off and they tried to supplement it with silver because men can't wear gold. But every time they were putting silver, it was not gelling with his body's chemistry. The Prophet ﷺ was informed and said that the only thing that will work is gold. And he said, put it on. He never said, okay, I have to make istikhara because gold is haram for men. The necessity dictated it. A sahabi couldn't wear clothing. It was causing him discomfort. The only clothing he could wear was silk. Prophet ﷺ said, wear it. He didn't say, I have to think about it. So we all have our personal lives. It's imperative that we have foundation of the religion understanding, which this is kind of giving us. We're not going into fiqh or the different aspects of fiqh. We're trying to put in a framework that Allah wants to protect me. He cares for me. He doesn't want to confine me. Now, when it comes to your child has to go 90 miles for a school project, husband's traveling somewhere, it's not that, okay, my religion said, no, I cannot have you, go. We understand that this is a need for them also. Thus, we take all the precautions necessary, make sure our gas tank is full, we have our money with us, our credit cards, make sure the house is safe, and we go and get the job done and come back home. So it's talking about being more taking more precautionary measures than a person would just commonly do. If someone dies in the family and you need to get there and your husband can't get time off you go. Sometimes we make whenever we bring religion into a circumstance to justify the contrary of what should be done, that's what I question. Like, for example, a friend of ours many years ago, him and his wife were converts, and mashallah, they were learning, and his wife had to go for some emergency blood work. So they went to the clinic, and now they came to draw the blood, and it was a male. And they're like, nope, no man's going to touch my wife. Now, he's not touching your wife. He's fulfilling a procedure, right? He's fulfilling a procedure. But no one's going to touch my wife. See, what the Quran said touching and what you're saying touching is different. A whole charade, it took him 3-4 hours for another lady to come from another clinic to take time from there to come here just to draw some blood. Because he said, I'm not going to go, they're going to have to come here.
But you then hear, and maybe even I think I can probably see myself doing it too, but you start kind of applying that logic to maybe other things that you shouldn't, like, let's say like hijab. Okay, I feel like I'm not safe in this society wearing hijab, so I don't have to wear it. I've heard people say that.
See, again, they don't understand the state of hijab. Hijab and modesty is from Allah our protection. It is not. It is not a threat to us. We're not sticking out like fluorescent light bulbs that, hey, Islamophobe, if you hate me, just come and hit me, right? No, it's Allah's protection from you.
But there are places in this country where women are targeted.
And if a person lives in that place, they know it.
Yes.
And based on their situation, they can do it. Look at what the Quran says, إِلَّا مَنْ أُكْرِهَ وَقَلْبُهُ مُطْمَئِنٌ بِالْإِيمَانِ. Unless you are forced to do something, but your heart is content with Islam. See, Islam is making these rulings. 86 surahs of the 114 are Makki surahs. They're building foundation of what you're supposed to believe, what your belief system entails. The rest of them are Bandi surahs, which have the laws and the rules. So if we have the rule that if we're disputing the rule, but the foundation isn't laid, then people will abuse. It's a system of abuse. British and Canadian system for healthcare was a system to help. People abused. Welfare system was to help. People abused. So it's when abuse happens that people tarnish that service. Islam is like, okay, I'm going to go to school today. Nothing's happened. I'm just going to go to school today. I'm not going to wear my hijab. Why? Because I feel threatened. What's happened today that wasn't happening before yesterday? Right? We have to question those things. We have to really cross-examine within ourselves. If you're going to like if we don't articulate who we are, what we stand for in a society that allows us that right. See, that's one thing where it's going wrong. We are allowed that right. You are allowed to go pray. You should go pray. You're allowed to take time off for your religion. Give notice beforehand. You're allowed to wear your hijab or your turban. Congress changed its laws because of Ilham al-Umar. It is permissible. You can do it. The thing is that when we feel...
I'm sorry for interrupting, sisters. Message from WhatsApp.
Could you please let him know? I'm still going to finish at 12 because I have to go.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, you said, okay. Really?
So the thing is that we are wary. We're wary about our faith. There's two aspects. That one are the ones that are hardcore, like, put it on, wrap it up tight, and other ones like, traditional style. And we just don't understand the footing of it. If we don't get that footing soon, what happened in Belgium over the weekend? Kosher halal meat is banned in the country. What else is going to happen in Europe right now? Circumcision for boys is going to become unlawful. This is a Jewish practice more than it is an Islamic practice. They celebrate this, right? What's happening is if we're not going to articulate who we are and what it means to us, then people will nitpick that. And so, I'm going to go for a concert tonight, so I'm allowed to travel 90 miles because it's a need for me. Now we have to ask those questions. I always say, woman should drive, she needs to drive, she has to drive, she drives. But try not to drive at nighttime. Try not to drive in late times. Try not to drive alone. Like, these are things we have our kids with us, off we go somewhere. We have to see our needs, but don't make our desires our needs. And then use Islam as the backing to support it. Because people who are enforcing something are using Islamic texts, and people who are seeking leniency are seeking Islamic texts. That's why I brought Aisha radiallahu anha didn't come back with a mahram, just to set a framework, not to say, oh, she traveled alone, so we all can travel alone. The Prophet ﷺ stood up once and urinated, and that was because of the circumstances of the ground and also a personal health issue. But then people stand up and say, I read in Bukhari that this would happen. Another hadith in Bukhari, Aisha radiallahu anha said, if anyone tells you that he stood up and urinated, don't believe him. Because by Allah, he never, he always would sit down. I.e., he did once, but then majority overrode the one time. It was a rare occasion. And so that is why learning the basis of our religion, is so important. And that's what we're trying to do, is as he puts the base, just have that discussion that in the realm of where this is Saudi Arabia, this is America, right? And I don't think tomorrow we'll have to say that because Saudi Arabia is becoming more of America than what we are. But alhamdulillah, in context, right? In any household, you can't do with one driver anymore. Everyone has to drive to some extent. It's really hard unless you have public transport, a very well-networked public transport like in the UK, where you don't need to, even I wouldn't need to drive. People jump on trains to work or buses or taxis, which is perfectly fine. But remember, this is what the Prophet ﷺ taught. This is what Allah told us. Now, how do I see my situation? One is a daily thing. One is just driving hours to go to a mall or this and that. If it's a necessity, those necessities can be fulfilled within our little area. But if it's something that has a purpose behind it, and that's why I say for women also, when women ask, I want to go for Hajj, my husband doesn't want to go, so I should just go. I'm like 48 years old. I would say, no, please go with a mahram. My aunt from Jacksonville, she wants to go. My uncle doesn't want to go. I'm like, auntie, persuade uncle, if not your children. Uh, but there are circumstances where women are widowed. And now what do you do? Okay, come for Hajj. See the circumstance. It's not like, okay, I'm 45 years old, I'm going to go for Hajj. If the mindset isn't there and we just take the law to be the ruling, we may affect our Hajj from becoming what it's supposed to be. So, again, the best thing is create the framework, understand what it entails, look at your situation, and if you can't bring forth an answer, consult with someone. Consult with a scholar, someone that can say, okay, this is my situation, what would you advise? And then go accordingly. At that time, I always tell people, have someone in your speed dial that you can consult, but don't do fatwa shopping. There's too much fatwa shopping. People, they'll keep on Googling, I got this fatwa.
You can find anything.
Yeah. I said in the khatwa 2 weeks ago that there's fatwas that pork is halal and so is alcohol. There's fatwas. So the thing is that we have to understand that our religion is all-inclusive, but it's really exclusively toned to my circumstance. And so I need to understand that. I need to have someone I can consult with on those issues, inshallah. So after talking about travel, I think one of the last things the author talks about is she accepts the will and decree of Allah. Now, when you're doing everything in a manner that you're cognizant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's wish and will for you. Allah wishes from me. This is what we have to start telling ourselves. Allah wishes from me. He doesn't command me. If we keep on saying Allah commanded me, it sounds very derogatory in our cultural talk of American society. God commanded us. So the first thing children say, what did we do wrong that we're being commanded to do something? Because in home, like, okay, you're going to go in the corner now. It's like a command. That means you had done something wrong. We don't say, you're going to eat this pizza right now. Yeah, we would say broccoli, but we wouldn't say pizza, right? So like, why is it a command? So Allah wishes well for me. He's telling this for my sake. And he also showed the opposite. And Aisha radiallahu anha, she did give back. Nothing happened, but look what happened. The buhtan na'adhi, this great accusation. And it hurts the Prophet ﷺ. So if a woman is traveling alone and her husband needs to be notified, if not her father or someone that should, even if it's a drive of an hour, you should notify. And the transparency should be that you can pick up the phone so that the concerned party isn't concerned. So you get in the car, you're driving an hour, and you have your friends on the phone, and your husband's calling, or your father's calling, your brother's calling, you're not picking up the phone. They're worried. So that should be part of the thing, that you could call, you could talk, everything's okay. The balance, I said balance has to be there. Because subhanAllah, yes, our society is a functioning society, and mashallah, the women are working, men are working, but we have to always understand limits. Never do anything without a limit. There has to be limits and boundaries. My boundaries are, if I'm traveling for work, I'm going to go to my job and I'm coming back to my hotel. I'm not going to go hanging out here, there, or after hour partying this stuff, because it's always in these situations where a lot of wrong happens. It is in these situations that marriages are broken. It is in these situations infidelity happens. So what happens is there has to be those checks and balances. The phone calls are there, text messages are there, the purpose is there. My framework is I'm going because of. I'm not just going, I'm going because of. Now you've created that framework, now you keep it to that framework. And it's only then that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's protection is there with us, inshallah. So here he's saying she accepts the will and decree of Allah. You know, sisters, no one's life is easy. No one's life is perfect. And as I was saying on Saturday in my class, when Allah starts pounding us with circumstances, they're coming left and right, what does He want from us? Not that we stick our chest out like Superman and say, come on, hit me, and like I'm an Iron Man. No. It pushes you in. It pushes you back. And you want to go into the hands of Allah, that Allah could just hold you. And Allah could protect you. Situations humble us. That humbleness brings that connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when we act resilient, when we act like we are unstoppable, when we act like we are made of steel and we can do everything, it kind of reminds me of that commercial they always show in Florida of mother comes to sit on a table and there's all these different types of people on a table. The principal saying your son's going to be in detention today, the boss is saying you got overtime today, and the police officer says you can get a ticket today. So they're all telling you what's going to happen today, right? And she grabs her oranges and goes, as long as I have my orange juice, I'm fine, right? Which means that I resort to something that gives me my energy. My circumstances isn't made for me to fight them. Don't fight the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah does not do mistakes. Allah does not send problems or goodness to the wrong person. It doesn't come down with UPS and goes to the wrong address. No, it comes to you. If my Allah and I are connected and I keep Him front and center and I understand that He wishes for me good, then whatever happens after that, I know what to do and I'm doing it and I know Allah wants this to be good for me. Whatever happens thereafter, you accept the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There'll be bad days, there'll be tough days, there'll be really questionable days. But because you say, Allah, you, oh Allah, the same one who has put me in this, take me through this. Not get me out of this. One scholar taught us, subhanAllah, he taught us how to make dua about sickness, for example. He goes, oh Allah, the one who tested me with the test of illness, bless me with the blessing of health. He said, oh Allah, I'm sick again. Why is this? Don't you know I have a busy weekend? I have to go for the wedding this weekend. Why am I going to be sniffling? Allah, this is not right. Allah, the one who tested me, who selected me and tested me with the test with the trial of illness. Oh Allah, bless me with the blessing of health. Don't ask Allah, number two, don't ask Allah to take you out of it. Ask Allah to get you through it. It's a journey, it's a test. The strongest and the hardest test came on the prophets. ثُمَّ الْأَمْثَلُ ثُمَّ الْأَمْثَلُ. Then those after them and those after them. So when Allah tests me in my life, it's not a wrong. Allah is holding you close to the rank of prophets. It's not just for men, it's for everyone, for sisters also. Allah's holding us very close. So He's going to keep on throwing things only so that we can keep on coming back in His hands. I use that analogy for myself. Come back into the hands of Allah. He doesn't say, Allah, I want to jump on your hands and do it. No, come back in His hands. Come in His protection. Believe that my humbleness, my putting my head down on the ground is only going to allow me to get through this. Don't get out of it. Because after the choppy tides and the waves, there's going to be smooth sail. After the cloudy skies, the sun is going to emerge. See, the sun never gives up coming out, even if it's in the UK and it's cloudy like I think 300 days a year. But the sun keeps on coming out. The cloud is there, it keeps on coming out. Why? Because if the sun wasn't to come out, even the little light that we have, we wouldn't have that. So the sun doesn't give up. I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to say, Allah, bring it on. A'udhu billah. Never say that. We are not worthy and able to fix anything. But Allah, we ask you for ease in all our affairs. We ask you for goodness. We ask you for health. We ask you for barakah. Oh Allah, do what's right for us. Don't even make this that, oh Allah, if you test me, test me. No, just do what's right for us. When the test comes, say, oh Allah, you know better than I do where this came from, why it came for, and what's the purpose. Allow me to get through this. And allow me to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Allow me to actually gain something from this. Don't go back. It's like marriage in our society today. I tell people it's like the Gulf of Mexico's marriage. You have Florida on one side, you have Mexico on the other side, right? And it's like this horseshoe. You leave Florida, Clearwater Beach, mashallah, it's so beautiful, pristine, clear beach. And you go into the depths of the ocean. Now the waves. Now there's fishes, big fishes. There's ships. There's storms. So people start marriage, looks good, and it starts getting wavy, it gets hard. Okay, stop, pause, break, divorce, let's go back. Getting married to another one, and it's the same thing. It's all the same. Every marriage is going to have that. The question is, can you weather it to get to the other beach? There's a beach on the other side. The effort that you put to get back here, you could have continued, you would have got there. Everything in life has a purpose. Well, do your best. Do what you need to do. Don't wait for others to do what they need to do. Do what you need to do. Oh, my child's not listening. I should still parent. My spouse is not listening, I should still serve for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? I am going to be asked from Allah for what I did, not what they didn't do. Allah's going to ask me for what I did, not what they didn't do. That's between them and Allah. I will do my part so long it is not harmful to me, so long it's not threatening to me, and then I will accept the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Muslim woman who is obedient to the command of her Lord, naturally, as I said, you're doing what's right, you're doing it under this framework, and you're asking Allah for goodness. This is a natural thing. You don't have to say, okay, I'm going to ask Allah to help me accept this. No, it's a natural thing. His will and decree is what we accept. Why? Because this is one of the greatest signs of faith. Obedience, taqwa, and righteousness in a person. So the Muslim woman who is guided by the teachings of Islam always accepts whatever befalls her in life, whether it is good or bad, because this attitude of acceptance is good for her in all cases. As the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam explained, and I love this hadith, عَجَبًا لِأَمْرِ الْمُؤْمِنِ إِنَّ أَمْرَهُ كُلَّهُ لَهُ خَيْرٌ. How amazing. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying, how amazing is the affair of a Muslim. Male, female, young, old. His affairs are all good. If he experiences ease, he is grateful. That is good for him. If he experiences hardships, he faces it with patience and perseverance. This is also good for him. SubhanAllah, in the days of difficulty, your patience is your reward. And it's not just a reward, but it gives you the feeling of what you got from it. When a person gets a badge in Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts, they went through something tough, and this is a symbol of the value of what they went through. You learned how to tie a rope, you got calluses and blisters in between, but you understood a very important art, and now this badge will serve as a reminder of that accomplishment. So when Allah puts us in something and we are patient, we don't complain. It's natural for us to complain. Look, Aisha radiallahu anha, she even complained. It's in a hadith. She said when a lady came to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, she came to the house, and Aisha radiallahu was there, and she was wearing a green garment, a green dress, and her hand was bruised up because maybe her husband hit her or something. And she said that the Muslim women have suffered more than any other woman. She said it. Islamophobes take this hadith and say, your religion is making you suffer. Even the wife of the Prophet said, you guys are suffering. It was her emotional saying. You know, we already went through so much in Makkah, we came here to Medina, and now we're facing this. It was her emotion. She said it. She's a human being. She's our mother. We love her to death. She said it. But under the context where she said it, she wasn't complaining. She wasn't complaining to the people. She was making her complaint to Allah. She wasn't complaining about Allah. She was complaining to Allah. إِنَّمَا أَشْكُو بَثِّي وَحُزْنِي إِلَى اللَّهِ. I take my grievances and pain to Allah. I don't complain about Him. Allah, why did you do this? Oh Allah, this is facing me. Oh Allah, this is happening to me. I'm looking for your light in this problem. That's taking a complaint to Allah. And one is complaining about Allah. Oh Allah, na'udhu billah, you're unjust, you're wrong, you're unfair. That's complaining about Allah. We don't do that. So as a believer, we learn. And that's saying, until we don't touch the waters of faith, you can never experience its feel. There's a different feel of swimming in sweet water than there is in salt water. A saltwater fish and a sweetwater fish taste different. It's a different feeling, but you cannot understand that unless you experienced it. Our whole life and world is revolving in a way that I'll know a lot about water and tide and riptide and all this stuff, but I'm not going to touch it. That's why Islam, I'll know it, but I'm not going to do it. Praying isn't doing Islam. Fasting isn't doing Islam. Doing Islam is when Allah brings something on me. Allah brings money, blessings, health, prosperity. What I do is doing faith. When Allah brings sickness, tragedy, unemployment, problems, what I do with it is doing faith. And that doing will be your sweet water, salt water experience. They're both going to be amazing. Don't just write off salt water because it seems bad. You can't drink salt water, but it's helpful for sinus decongestion, right? Salt water has its perks also. So just because it's something I can't do one thing means doesn't mean I can't do anything at all. Just because a bad situation is bringing some level of hindrance or hiccup in my life doesn't mean it's all out bad. There's something good in it. So this hadith proves to be very powerful in regards to this. The Muslim woman is convinced that whatever befalls her in life could not have been avoided. Never ever say if. This is the one thing the Prophet ﷺ told. Don't say if. If we didn't come here today, we wouldn't have had we wouldn't have caught the flu. Flu would have hit you in the four walls of your house. But it would have hit us wherever we are. Don't say, if I didn't do this, if I had done that, if we did this. You are actually questioning the decree of Allah. Allah makes no mistakes. Teach your kids this tonight. Son, daughter, Allah makes no mistakes. This is a discussion for 10 on the table. Allah never makes a mistake. It doesn't need explanation. It doesn't need expansion on it. It will start making sense when time comes around. So a Muslim woman is convinced whatever befalls her in life, good or bad, could have never been avoided. Now there's a fine line here. It doesn't mean we sit back and say, okay, I'll starve to death because Allah hasn't written food. The Hadith al-Qudsi tells us everyone was naked except for the ones who Allah clothed. He said, ask me for clothing, I will clothe you. Everyone's hungry except for those who I fed. Ask me for food, I give you food. But we know what asking means. It means getting off our chairs, getting a job, working, going to the store, grocery shopping, coming home, cooking. It entails effort. You can't just sit there and say, Allah had destined for me to die here. No, that's the way it is. Make your effort. Make your effort and do it with the belief that Allah's doing what's right. What you do will be right. What comes out from it will be right. If you were to do it without Allah, then you will always question, where is Allah in the opposite end? Our things that we do in the house, and it's not restricted to women, even cooking food. Men cook food also. When we cook food with Allah's name, stir the pot, Bismillah. Try these things because it's something we're doing. Change the sheets in the bed, vacuum the floor, get the kids to school, sit down for a project, submit a report at the workplace. Bismillah. Why? My Allah will bring this into something else. We talked about in class this weekend. There's only 24 hours in a day. There's never going to be 25. Never. But that 24 hours is like a rubber band in Allah's hand. He can stretch it. He can restrict it. So a person could have one job to do and the whole day passed and they couldn't do anything. A person will have 2 jobs and 10 more fell. And as you go through figuring out all of them, by the end, when you're exhausted, you finish 10 plus 2. Allah knows how to stretch. Don't complain of what happened. Allah wants you to see that He has put within you the potential that you got it done. So understand, Allah knows best. He never makes mistakes, and Allah wishes for me well, right? Everything happens according to the will and decree of Allah, so her affairs are all good. If something good happens to her, she voices her praise to Allah, the Magnificent Bestower, and she becomes one of those who are grateful, obedient, and successful. If something bad happens to her, she faces it with patience and fortitude, so she becomes of those who are patient, redeemed, and victorious. Maryam alayhi salam, how much patience did she have to have? Everything happened to her that logically could not been explained. Why your parents are giving you up? Am I a bad child? What, am I not good enough for this home? Oh, is it because I'm a girl? Today our society asks these questions, right? Why? Why did my parents do this? Why it's happened? No, she says, you know what? What's the next thing up? What's the next thing up? What is Allah going to give me? And now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because she successfully transitioned to where she had to go, Allah is not only bestowing her with the goodnesses, the fruits, the food, the honor, she became influential in how she helped another prophet understand, but Allah made her a lesson for the world. It's amazing. Just keep on going with the punches, as they say. Keep on going the punches. And again, Not punches, no, billah, literally, not punches of abuse. No, the punches that life bring to you. I'm doing my best. I'm doing what I need to do. I'm seeking help, and I'm relying on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Keep moving, keep moving. Just see the next thing. Ibrahim alayhi salam was more hesitant than Ismail alayhi salam when it came to slaughter. Ibrahim alayhi salam knew it was revelation. A prophet's dream is revelation. Our dreams are 1/40th of revelation. Know that. Dreams mean something very big in our lives. And so Ibrahim is saying, "Fanzur madha tara." Think about it. What's your thoughts? And he's like, Dad, do it. Dad, tie my hands. Dad, take off my shirt so my mom didn't see blood. Dad, sharpen the knife so we could get that faster. Like, let's do the next thing up. Let's get through this. You know, I'm going to sit here now complaining, oh, why is it so cold in this masjid? Let's go tell Sister Maya. Let's call Brother Haki. Let's call Brother Nafis. Let's go now call the electric company. Let's call the AC company. In that time, you could have said Subhanallah 1,000 times, right? Go with the punches. We were supposed to do what needed to be done. We did what we can do. Let Allah do what He wants. So, subhanAllah, this is the only way that life will start becoming meaningful. You cannot bring explanation to everything in life. Don't try that. Teach your kids not to try that. Something happened, as the Arabs say, قَدَّرَ اللَّهُ وَمَا شَاءَ فَعَلَ. Allah had destined it. What happened? He did it and destroyed it. I remember in Medina Munawwara, I always told the Hajj group and our Umrah groups, everyone take a moment of your time within the next 3 days that we're here, go for a janazah. I would tell the men, go with a janazah. Go with a beer to the burial grounds. Experience it. It's profound. You know, I remember the last janazah I attended, maybe 2 years ago, it was a baby, newborn baby. So as soon as the prayer was done, I walked towards the front, pray the janazah, and whichever janazah is going, kind of jump into that crowd. And here was all these, you know, coffin, like, you know, the people are going, and there's one guy just holding a baby. So now everyone's looking at the coffins, right? Not the coffins, but they see the thing on the shoulder. Of course, they have no coffins, they bury it just like that. So I was walking with him and a few of others, and he wasn't crying. And we got there, we buried and stuff, talked to him. MashaAllah, he works in a very high position. He's of South Asian descent, but MashaAllah, had a good conversation with him, exchanged information in our cards. And subhanAllah, Allah gave, Allah took. It's done. The life continues. And that's one thing I am amazed in the Arabs, MashaAllah. They don't beat themselves on it so much. They're moving. Just keep moving, keep moving. And I think that's a quality that we need to understand. We can't go that way. You go backwards. You know, someone's telling me there's a reason why the windshield is so big and the rear view mirror is so small. You know, your focus has to be here. That's gone. Learn from it. Learn something from it. Take something from those experiences. Don't shun them, nor continue to indulge in them. Move forward, inshallah. With this deep faith, the Muslim woman faces the upheavals and calamities of life with a calm soul that accepts the will and decree of Allah. She seeks His help with patience, prayer, and hope for reward from Him. She voices her praise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for what He has willed and decreed. Al-Akhnasa did on that day when she heard the news about her 4 sons and said, "Praise be to Allah who has honored me with their martyrdom. I hope that Allah will grant me, gather me with them under His mercy." She goes to the places, okay. So what happened in that incident, Akhnasa radiallahu anha, her 4 sons died during the battle. She was worried about where the Prophet Muhammad was, and she got all the news, and she knows it wasn't hers, right? And it's hard to say this. We're mothers, we're parents, but Allah, as I said to sister, Allah gave us introduction to this world. This is my mother, this is my grandmother, this is my father, this is my son and daughter. Introduction. And it was that, it was like, I don't want to say a sales pitch, but it's like, you know, they give you in Costco as trials. It tastes good. So what are you going to do then? You'll buy it, right? You'll like it, you'll talk about it. Allah gave family, and if the family goes, It was like you loved them, you cared about them, keep on working to get with them. They're moving on to Jannah, work to get with them because tomorrow it's like it's everlasting. And as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Holy Quran, وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَاتَّبَعَتْهُمْ ذُرِّيَّتُهُم بِإِيمَانٍ أَلْحَقْنَا بِهِمْ ذُرِّيَّتَهُم. So those who brought faith and their children and their progenies followed them in the path of faith. On the day of judgment, if the parents are on a higher level and the children were on the same path but on a lower level, Allah says we're going to bring their families together. Because in Jannah, the ones who are on the top can come down to visit, but the ones on the bottom can't go up. It's Allah's system. Again, a manner of telling us what to strive and aspire for. Allah is saying that families will come on the same level. So you can meet each other whenever you want, go to grandma's house, grandpa's house, whatever, just have a good time. So that's the life we need to talk about to our children. Think about paradise. What's the one thing you want in paradise? We were, as kids, told this. And I still want pancakes. I want my pancake house. I want one that has unlimited pancakes and true pure maple syrup. That's what I want to eat. So I want that. So when you start dreaming those things, you work towards the thing. No one dreams about the akhirah. That's what we're dreaming about, the dunya. And guess where those dreams have taken us? Back to square one. Like there's no more style, fashion, cars, houses. It's all going back to the 70s and 80s because there's only so much you could dream and bring into reality in this world. It's a limited place. If you can, take your children to historical places and show them the ruins of the people before us. They had architecture that we still don't have today. They had things that we can never have, but it doesn't last. It just doesn't. I always say to myself, if, for example, cars, transportation, whatever it was, houses, say for houses. Houses have been building for thousands and thousands of years. How come we haven't perfected it to a whole new level? Yeah, we went from mountains and houses in mountains, naturally built houses, to wooden houses, maybe some concrete houses. But why doesn't it go to a next level? It's because there is a cycle of Allah. Civilizations come and then they destroy. Allah doesn't destroy them now, they just crumble. There was once a Rome, and once was a Greece, Athens. It just crumbles. So when you see those, you remind yourself, nothing lasts. If it doesn't last, let's start dreaming about the akhirah. When your child says, Mom, I want a Tesla, Allah will give you the best Tesla in Jannah. You design it. Go design it right now. Allah's going to give it to you. Believe these things. People will go to a Jummah Bazaar. Every Friday we're going to go to Jummah Bazaar. We'll meet each other. Go to Jummah. Allah's going to call us. It's going to be food. There's going to be things for free. You don't have to look at your credit score. You don't have to look at your credit card amount. Just keep on picking up and taking. This is a life that we are supposed to aspire for. And then when we know what we want, then the work that needs to be done happens to make that happen. Don't make your religion, Humne Subhanallah Padha Taki Jannat Mein Darkhta. We read Subhanallah so we get one tree in Jannah. No, we're going to do the work of Subhanallah so that tree actually happens. Don't make our religion superficial like this. Oh, just do. No, do the work that needs to be done. Bring about God consciousness. Bring about honesty. Bring about trustworthiness. Bring about character. Bring about morals. Bring about safe and prosperous societies. This is your Jannah. Allah will give Jannah on these actions because these were rooted in your faith and they were inspired not just by your faith and your moral conscience, but because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told you, do greatness and I'll give you the greatest, inshallah. So with that, inshallah, we will pause here. Alhamdulillah, it was a very good journey thus far. Alhamdulillah, we are almost close to 100 pages. We're on page 84, alhamdulillah. Actually, I want to just read this one last story because it ends this topic. She goes to the places where she usually prays and seeks Allah's help with prayer and patience, as Asma binti Umais used to do when disasters and tragedies struck one after the other, radiallahu anha. She lost her first husband, Ja'far ibn Abi Talib, radiallahu anha. Then she was stricken by the death of her second husband, Abu Bakr Siddiq, radiallahu anhu, and of her son, Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr, radiallahu anhu. So Asma, radiallahu anha, always turning to Allah. Tragedy comes, no one says you can't cry. Tragedy comes, no one says you could not hold your family and cry or just comfort. Just turn first to Allah. Say, Allah, I accept. Get me through this. Get me through this. Never say, take me out of this, because no one's going to come back to life. take me through this. Let me see the light on the other side. Right? There are many other examples in history of women who had faith, hoping for reward from Allah and facing difficulties with patience and fortitude. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward them greatly, as He says in chapter number 39, verse 10, those who patiently persevere will truly receive a reward without measure. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us amongst those people, inshallah. I mean, may Allah mold our lives to be those that mimic the lives of those noble ones before us, that through their circumstances, through their difficulties, through their days of joys and happiness, they had Allah by their side at all times. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Jazakumullah khairan. Shaykh Hassan will be coming maybe next 10-15 minutes. I have to leave. I'll be leaving, inshallah. There will be no class next week. I'll be back next Tuesday night, inshallah, and so we'll continue with the following Tuesday. In the meantime, if Sheikh Arsan wants to take this time slot, that's fine. If not, if the sisters want to come here and just discuss what we're doing. See, the importance is a discussion after lessons. In our institutes, our teachers taught us, we did homework, and then we sat in circles and discussed. Because it's in those discussions that you actually bring a picture to it. So, be a source of inspiration. You can decide amongst yourself, inshallah, what you think is suitable. And inshallah, we'll let the masjid know to accommodate accordingly, inshallah. Keep us in your prayers, inshallah, and we'll see you all next week, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Imam Azhar,
Yes?
are you doing a Hajj